Hi, Jennifer Pulizzi from Orion Lending. Welcome to my presentation, 5 minutes on FHA loans and doing it for a borrower who is in or just out of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So what do we talk about just out of a Chapter 13 or in a Chapter 13? Well, I'm going to share my screen and quickly show you a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to show you the FHA guidelines. This is the 4000.1, and it says right here, in the manual underwriting guidelines that a Chapter 13 borrower bankruptcy does not disqualify a borrower from obtaining an FHA insured mortgage. At the time of the case number, the borrower must have made at least 12 months of the payouts of Chapter 13. So what does that mean? They're in a 13, they're making their monthly payments. They have to have made at least 12 payments at the time of the case number assignment. At that point, they're eligible to apply for an FHA mortgage. Now, it doesn't mean they're automatically going to get an FHA mortgage, because then they have to qualify under FHA manual underwriting guidelines. And that is where you want to double check your guides here. So your borrower does first have to, if they are in a Chapter 13, they have to obtain permission from the Chapter 13 trustee to apply for the mortgage. Now, many people do, they're paying off their debts. The trustees will give them a letter saying they've reviewed it and they are able to apply for a mortgage under FHA for FHA financing. So remember that this part, standard Chapter 13 in the FHA guidelines, is where you want to find the basis of being able to do a loan for a borrower in a Chapter 13, or again, just out of a Chapter 13. So this is where we want to be here. Then anytime you're talking about Chapter 13, we're talking about an FHA manual underwrite. Now it's going to be a manual if they're in the 13, or if they're up to 2 years out of the Chapter 13. So it can be discharged maybe 8 months ago, still eligible, but they have to qualify under these FHA manual underwriting guidelines. So they must meet the FHA satisfactory credit guides. That's a whole nother section of the 4000.1. Please send it to me. I will look at the credit for you and let you know whether they meet the FHA manual, the satisfactory credit guides for a manual underwrite. They must be able to verify their housing history for 12 plus months. That can include a rent-free letter from family, but they need to account for their housing for the last 12 months. If it's a VOR, they need to be 0 times 30 times 12. So watch that, order a supplement, make sure it looks good. 31-43 ratios are the baseline, but if they're a 580 or above, they can exceed those with manual or with compensating factors under the manual underwriting guidelines. So your borrowers can get higher than 31-43 if they have compensating factors. And then they will need to have at least 1 month PITI in reserves. So these are the standard manual underwriting guidelines, and anyone who's in a 12 months into a 13 or within 2 years of a discharge from a 13 need to meet these guides. And that's pretty much the basics of doing a loan for a borrower that is either in or within 2 years out of discharge from a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So if you have questions about Chapter 13 bankruptcy, borrowers with Chapter 13 bankruptcies and doing FHA loans, please reach out. I can look at your credit for you and tell you whether or not they'll meet those manual underwriting guidelines. And we will be able to really expand the people that you can do loans for, because a lot of financial planners, a lot of CPAs, many of those people will have borrowers in, maybe 2 or 3 years into a 13 that want to get out of it. Their financial situation has changed, and you can really expand your business and look for a niche to do more loans for these borrowers. So if you have any questions about FHA loans at all, please reach out to me. Orion Lending, we go down to 580. We do manual underwrites. We don't have any overlays. I mean, we have got tons of options for your FHA borrowers, and I would love to help you with those. Please reach out if you have any questions. I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much, and have an amazing day.